Welcome back to the book of Genesis. Today we're going to tackle chapter 38 and continue reading about Joseph. All right, Judah and Tamar. Let's get it. It came to pass at that time that Judah departed from his brothers and visited a certain Adulamite whose name was Hira. And Judah, saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shula, and he married her and went into her. So she conceived and bore a son and called his name She conceived again and bore a son and called his name Onan. And she conceived yet again and bore a son and called his name Shelah. He was a cherubim when she bore him. Verse 6. Then Judah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord killed him. And Judah said to Onan, "Go into your brother's wife and marry her, and raise up an heir to your brother." But Onan knew that her heir would not be his. And it came to pass, when he went into his brother's wife, that he admitted on the ground, lest he should give her an heir to her brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, therefore he killed him also. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Remain a widow in your father's house till my son Shelah is grown." For he said, lest he also die as his brothers did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. Verse 12. Now in the process of time, the daughters of Shula, Judah's wife, died, and Judah was comforted and went up to his sheep herders at Timahan, and he said to his friend Hiran the Adulamite, and it was told Tamar, saying, "Look, your father-in-law is going up to Tamar to shear his sheep." Verse 14, so she took off her widow's garment, covered herself with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place which was on the way to Tinam. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and was not given to him as a wife. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a harlot, because she had covered her face. Verse 16. Then he turned to her by the way and said, "Please let me come into you," for he did not know she was his daughter-in-law. So she said, "What will you give me that you may come into me?" Verse 17, and he said, "I will send you a young goat from the flock." And he said, "Will you give me a pledge till you send it?" Then he said, "What pledge shall I give you?" So he said, "Your signet and cord of your staff that is in your hand." Then he gave them to her and went into her, and she conceived by him. So she arose and went away and laid aside her veil and put on the garment of her widowhood. And Judah sent the young goat by the hand of his friend, the Adulamite, to receive his pledge from the widow's hand. But he did not find her. Verse 21, then he asked the men of that place, saying, "Where is the harlot who was openly by the roadside?" And they said, "There is no harlot in this place." Then he returned to Judah and said, "I cannot find her." Also, the men of the place said, "There was no harlot in the place." Verse 23, then Judah said, "Let her take them for herself, lest we be shamed, for I have sent this young goat and have not found her." Verse 24, and it came to pass about 3 months after that Judah was told, saying, "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot. Furthermore, she is with child by harlotry. So Judah said, bring her out, let her be burned. Verse 25. When she was brought out, he sent her to her father-in-law, saying, by the man whom these belong, I am the child. And she said, I am with child. And she said, please determine who these are, the signet and the cord and the staff. Verse 26. So Judah acknowledged them and said, she has been more righteous than I, because I did not give her to Shelah my son, and he never knew her again. Verse 27. Now it came to pass at the time for giving birth that, behold, twins were in her womb. So it was when she was giving birth that one of them put out his hand, and the midwife took a scarlet thread and bound it on his hand, saying, this one came out first. Then it happened that he drew back his hand, and his brother came out unexpectedly. And she said, how did you break through this breach upon you? Therefore his name was called Perez. And verse 30. Afterwards his brother came out, who had the scarlet thread on his hand, and his name was Zerah. And that is the end of verse 38, a little bit shorter chapter. Well, in this chapter we see a lot of time goes on, probably more than 100 years, I would imagine. And we see Judah acting badly, behaving quite badly. And we see his daughter-in-law becoming pregnant by him, and not sure what to make of all of this, but I believe Judah ends up being a very somewhat evil person later on. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think it is. And this certainly looks like that could be happening here. Chapter 39. Here we go. Let's get it. Joseph, a slave in Egypt. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard of an Egyptian, brought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. Verse 3. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all he did to prosper in his hand. Joseph found favor in his sight and served him. Then he made him overseer of the house, and all that he had he put in his hand. So it was from the time that he had made him overseer of his house and all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake, and the blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in the house and in the field. Verse 6. So he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he did not know what he had except for the bread which he ate. And Joseph was handsome in form and appearance. Verse 7. Now it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast longing eyes on Joseph, and she said, lie with me. But he refused, and he said to his master's wife, look, my master does not know what is with me in the house, and he has committed all that he has to my hand. Verse 9. There is no one greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me. But you, because you are his wife, how then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Verse 10. So it was as she spoke to Joseph day by day that he did not heed her. He did not heed her to lie with her or to be with her. But it happened about this time when Joseph went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house was inside. Verse 12, that she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. But he left his garment in her hand and fled and ran outside. And so it was when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and fled outside, that she called to the men of the house and spoke to them, saying, See, he has brought in us a Hebrew to mock us. He came into me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. Verse 15, and it happened when he heard that I lifted my voice and cried out, that he left his garment with me and fled and went outside. So she kept his garment with her until his master came home. Then she spoke to him with words like these, saying, Hebrew servant, who have you brought to us? Come into me to mock me. Verse 18, so it happened as I lifted my voice and cried out that he left his garment with me and fled outside. So it was when his master heard the words which his wife spoke to him, saying, Your servant did to me after this manner, that his anger was aroused. Verse 20, then Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in the prison. Verse 21, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy, and he gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatsoever they did there, it was his doing. Verse 23, the keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's hand, because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. End of chapter 39. Well, we continue to see Joseph, Israel's favorite son, continuing to be treated badly. He's in Egypt, he's a slave, but he's being treated really good. And then, of course, the wife tricks him and causes all kinds of trouble. And unfortunately, now he is in jail. So we see Joseph's life continuing to be very difficult, but he is going to be a very blessed man. I don't really see the picture of Jesus Christ here, but you can kind of tell. You can kind of tell. So in our next video, we will tackle chapter 40 and continue reading about Joseph in the book of Genesis. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. God bless.